Hello everyone. Welcome again to our e-learning portal. And in the previous module, we have discussed about the if-else and various type of if-else. So today we are going to start a new part in the Python, and that is the agenda for today is the loop, then types of loop, for loop, and examples on for loop. So in today's module, we're basically going to learn about the loop, that is also known as the repetition statements in Python. So we are going to see how we can repeat some statement, how we can repeat some code based on that. And first of all, we are going to discuss about the loops, how they work, what is the need of them, then how many types of loop are there in Python. After that, we will going to discuss the first kind of loop, that is also known as for loop, which is most important and you can say like most popular. And also we'll see some examples so that we'll get a better idea about the loops. So let's quickly start with the theoretical part of these things, and then we will deep dive in the practical parts of all these scenarios. So guys, first of all, we are going to discuss about the loop here. So now we are going to discuss about loop. So loop is basically known as for repetition of code. So like think about a scenario like if I'm saying in Python, if I want to write a hello world. So you know the syntax for that is print hello world. That's it. But now, if someone is saying that I want to print this hello world for let's say 10 times or let's say 2 times. So for 2 times, it might be possible that a person can write it again like this. But if I want to repeat that thing for let's say 10 times or 20 times, so we don't have like so much time for that. Okay, we not to like write it again and again. So at that time, if I want to repeat any statement, then at that particular scenarios, we can use loop. So loop is used for repetition of a code or a block for a certain number of times. So that's all about loop. And talking about how it's work, so it basically works like we have, let's say, a scenario here. Yeah. Like we have a task and I want to like do the task again and again. So it's like this, okay? It will go for this task for one time, then second time, then third time, then fourth time, depending on the number of times of repetition we want to do that. So that is called loop. Now talking about the types of loops. So in Python, we have two types of loop. So in Python, we have two types of loop. So one is the for loop, and the second one is known as the while. So we have two kind of loop there, that is a for loop and while loop. Although in this part we're basically going to focus upon the for loop, but definitely in the next part we will going to cover the while loop also. So for loop is basically works when we have an idea about the number of repetition. Like if we know how many times we have to repeat our task, then in that case we can use the for loop. And talking about while loop, when we don't have any idea about the number of repetition, then at that time we will use the while loop. So while loop works on the basis of condition. Like we have a condition, if that condition is true, it will give you, it will run that loop. If the condition will get false, it will stop that loop. Like as a scenario, you can think about system where let's suppose if I'm saying that if this value is true, then you have to do that work, else you have to stop that work. So at that particular scenarios we can use while loop. Or let's suppose if I'm saying that you have to do this work for 10 times. So we don't have any kind of condition. It will be only for 10 times. So at that time we can use a for loop. So we have two types of loop there. And these both are most important, like whenever you have any kind of scenarios, any kind of questions on the interviews, or you have any kind of scenario you want to apply with the help of programming language, loop will be there. Like from, I think for 90% time the loop will be there. So let's have a talk about the for loop and while loop here. Then yes, talking about the basic syntax of the for loop, like how the for loop will work there. So in the for loop we have for, then we have a variable, then we have in, and after that we have a range. Now what is range? So range is basically you can say a defined range, like we have the upper limit and the lower limits, and based on that, like it will run only in that particular part. Also we can run the loop in list or in string also, so we're going to talk about that part. But as of now, let's first discuss about the range. So in Python, range is a function. Like this is the basic syntax, like the like this in the for loop. But yes, talking about the range. So range is a function, and that function will take three things. Range will take three things: low, up, and set. Someone will also say it like start, stop, and step. Now by default in Python, what happens is the start value is fixed to 0, the step value is fixed to 1, which means if you are not defining the value of start and step, it will be by default taken as 0 and 1 respectively, and you have to define stop in the range, which means, like, let's suppose if I'm writing range and inside it I'm giving 10, then that means your loop will start from 0, it will go till 10 with a step of 1. So the output will be first of all 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, and accordingly it will go till 9, not 10. So most of the user have a doubt inside that. If you are using the range function will not include the last value. It will be go till n minus 1. Like if the value is 15, it will go in 14. If the value is 100, it will be go till 99. If you want to include the 10 in your range instead of 10, you will run it till 11. Now, in the same manner, if I have a range in which I am giving, let's say 10, 20. Now that means you are giving the start and the stop. So it will start from 10, it will take 11, then 12, then 13, and go till 19. Again, we have not defined the step, so that's why it is taking the step of 1. Similarly, in that manner, if I'm again using the range with the value, let's say 10, 20, and 2, so that means it will start from 10, it will go to 20 with a step of 2. So the values will be 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18. But will not going on 19 because according to step it will not be there. It will not include 20 because according to the range it will not be there. So that will be the values. So I hope the range is clear to you. Now sometimes the range can also be in the opposite format, like from decreasing order. So it will be like if I'm defining a range from 20 to 10 with a step of minus 1, then it will be like 20, then 19, then 18, and accordingly it will go till 11, not 10. So these are the some examples of the range, how range is working. Now we are going to talk in a very deep manner on these range when we are in the practical session of the for loop. But definitely the range will work like this in that part. And also, like when I'm saying that the range will give you the value, now we need a variable which will represent that value. And at that time, this variable will come in the picture. Now this is the variable which will store these values, the 0, 1, 2, 3. Now you can print that values, okay? So that variable will take care of all the values which is coming inside a range. So this is the concept about a for loop, how it works, what are the things are there. So now let's quickly see the practical things of that part, like how the loop will work there, and we can also like validate the range function, and accordingly we will move further. So let's start Python here, and then we can see that part. So this is my Python window. I'm using currently idle. I'll just open a new file here. With the help of Control N, you can easily open a new file. So I'm just using the Control N, a new file. Now here I want start file. Now we know, like talking about loop, basically the repetition. So like talking about for I in range, inside that I'm doing 10. Now here First of all, for is a for loop syntax. I is the variable which will store all the values. In is a predefined keyword which is saying that this loop will run inside a range, and that is a range which is 10. So now talking about 10, it means like it will start from 0 and go till 9. Now here I can use a print statement. Inside that I'm writing print hello world. Now the loop will start from 0 and go till 9. It will repeat for 10 times. 5 and 5 that will be 10 times. So let's first of all check what will be the output for that. I'll just use a run module here, and I just first of all have to save that code. So let me just save it quickly. So you can save it anywhere. So I'll just save it on my documents. You can save it anywhere. I'll recommend you to just make a folder so that will be easy for you to keep a tracking of that, and also like getting all the exercises, all the practical implementation in a single folder. So that will be a now here you can see it is giving me the output which is printing hello world for 10 times. And the same manner, let's suppose if I want to check the number, like it is giving from 0 to 9 or not. So for that, with that hello world, I'll just put a comma and put the value of I, which means the value which is coming inside from that range. Now for representing that value, we have used a variable that is I, so that's why I'm writing I. If I have used some another variable name, I have to use that. So now if I run this code again, so here you can see all the values which is coming from that is 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4 accordingly. So that is the working of a loop, how it works and how it can be easily done in that part. So yes guys, so here we have seen how we can use the loop. So let's take one more example based on the range. So I'll just put it as comment this code, and now let's take one more example here, that is for I in the range. Let's say from 10 to 20. That will start from 10, go till 19, not 20. Remember that part. So I'll write the value is the value that is itself. And let's try to run that code also. So click on my run module. Let's check it out. Yeah, so here you can see guys all the values which is coming from 10 to 90. So similarly, if I will change that part from 10 to 20 in a step of 3, so it will take a step of 3, which means 10, then 13, then 16, like this one. Let's validate that part also here. And now you can see 10, 13, 16, all the values. So I hope you got the idea of the range, how it's working. The start, a stop, and a step. Let's take one decreasing range also, which will be start from let's say 20 and go till the part. So for I in the range, now which is from let's say 10 to 0, the start of -1. And I will the print command, let's say hello, and then I switch. Now let's see that part also. So I'll just click on run module. Okay. So now here you can see this. It's starting from 10, go till 1. Although I have started the range till 0, but it is giving only 1 because the last value will never be taken. Either the range is in the increasing format or in the decreasing format, doesn't matter. So that is the work of a loop, how the for loop will work. And let's see some more parts here in the for loop. Like if I want to like give some dynamic range, so what I can do is I'll just take the start, the stop, and the step from the user, everything. Let's try to do that part. Just a moment. Let me just make it as comment here. So for start, I'll just make a variable with a name of a start. So that will be an input. So that's why I'm using integer input. And I hope you have a better concept and idea about inputs, because we have talked it in our I think module 1 or 2. So yes, definitely you will just go there and check for the parts. So enter start point. So I'm just taking that input, and I'll just take it for 3 times. Once for the start, then for the stop, and then for the step. Now start point, stop point, and the step point. Now, as we have seen, like in range, we have to define three things, and I have just taken the input of all the three parts. Now, what we have to do is we have to just assign these values. So, what I will do here is I'll simply say for I in the range will be from start to stop this step. Print the value of I, so I'll say that is just a message. You can write anything, and then the value of I. Although you can see like you can just put anything there like value. So just you have to change this I to 1. This is just a variable. Like in most of the time you will see most of the developers are using ij in every part, and I also use ij because like you can see like doing some more practice on that and like starting from that scenarios we are using ij and all the part. But yes, you can change it depending upon the scenarios and the requirement. Now I'll run this module. Yeah. Here you can see it is asking for the start point, so I'm giving the start point, let's say as 30, and I want to stop my loop, let's say at 68, and step let's say a step of 4. I can say accordingly it is giving me all the values. Now this is the work how the loop is working in that particular scenarios. So let's have a question on that. We'll just try to solve a question so that we'll get a better idea. Let's suppose if I want to print a table of a number. So just try to table. Now let's suppose if I want to print a table of 13. How we can do that part? So first let's have a look on the scenario. Let's suppose if I want to print a table of 13. So for table of 13, we want a range, or you can say a sequence. First of all, it will be 13, then 26, then 39, like this. How we can make that part? What we can do is, we know like talking about tables, we know like first of all we have to multiply 13 by 1, so that will be 13. Then 13 multiplied by 2, that will be 26. And 13 multiplied by 3, that will be 39. Now here what I will recommend you is just try to see which part is changing in this particular step. So you can see the 13 is common, the equal to is common, the multiply is common. Only the thing is changing is 1. First of all it is 1, then it is 2, then it is 3. So what I can say is I will multiply the 13 with some variable which will take the value from 1 to 10, a range, and that will give me the output. So that will be a good option. So what I'll say is I want to multiply the 13 with a variable, and now that variable will be run in a range from 1 to 11. That can be perfect. Now let's try to solve it out on Python. So here what I'll say is I will run a loop in range. Now remember guys, we want it from 1 to 10. So I will start from 1, and if I want to include 10, then I will go till 11. Inside that I will say print the value of var. Now I'm just printing the value of var so that you will get a better idea of the variable, and ideally it should give from 1 to 10. The only values from 1 to 10. And yeah, here you can see it's from 1 to 10. That's perfect. Now the only thing which we want to do is we have to just multiply 13 with these variable values. So what I will say is just multiply 13 with these variables. And that's done. Let's try to run this code and see what we get for that. Yeah, here you can see guys the output that is from 13 to 130. It's coming in a very good manner. Now I just make this format of output a little bit more good. So what I'll do is first of all I'll print the value 13. Then I will print a sign of multiplication. Then I will print the value of I. Again I will print the value of equals to, and then the multiplication. Not I, it will be there because the variable name is there. Now let's try to see the output of this one also. So yes, here you can see the perfect output of it. Now what we can do is, as you can see here, we have multiplied the value with 13. It can be 12, it can be 6, it can be anything. So instead of writing 13 directly, what we can do is we can take input from the user because that will make it more dynamic. So I'll say num equals to user input the number. Now instead of 13, I will multiply that with the number. Simple way to do that part. Now as you can see, it is asking for the number. So if I'm putting a number that is 17, that is the table of 17. So this is the work which we can easily do here in the loops part. I hope you all got a better idea about the loop, how the for loop is working, what is the range function, and how it's done. Now in the upcoming module, we are basically going to learn more about the for loop, how the loop will work with the if-else condition, how we can integrate the condition, the if-else part and the loop part both in the same scenarios, and accordingly we will move further in this part. In this session, I hope you got a better idea about the loop, the types of loop, and how the for loop is working, the syntax of that, the examples, the implementations of the part. So guys, we can wrap up now for this part. So as we have seen the loop, then we have seen the types of loop, and we have seen the for loop and the examples of for loop. So after at last we have the thank you session for all of you guys. So definitely thank you guys for joining this session, and feel free to share your feedback and any suggestions you may have for the improvement. And also, like, if you have any questions or doubts, don't hesitate to ask. You can leave your questions in the comment section. We'll definitely be able to help. Although it's recorded sessions and recording videos, but definitely, like, if you have any doubt, you will just drop your questions in the comment section. We'll definitely be able to help you guys. Okay. Okay, guys. Bye bye. Take care. See you in the next videos.